The NFC North is regarded by many as the best division in football. Every single team could conceivably make a playoff push, and they've got two of the favorites to come out of the NFC. So today, we are going to be predicting the records for every single team in the NFC North. Starting things off with the Chicago Bears, the most interesting team in the division. They've got Caleb Williams. They've got two new wide receivers. They've got defense, which is being vastly overrated by many. And here's the thing with the Bears. I think they'll be a very good team in the coming years. I think Caleb Williams is a supremely talented player. I think he's got the issue, though, of not quite being as NFL ready as some people would like to believe. You look at last year in USC, had some turnover issues against quality defenses, had some fumbling issues. Those issues will be exacerbated playing in Chicago with an offensive line which has functional tackles, at least a functional right tackle. Not sure what they got going on over there on the left side, but holes in the interior. I think he's going to have turnover issues. I think the receiving core is not quite going to gel immediately. I think that defense, which was red hot towards the end of last season, may take some time to get back into their stride. They didn't have a great pass rush. They're relying on their linebackers and secondary to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Not me saying they're going to be a bad team. I just don't think they're going to be the 10, 11 win team some people are predicting. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs in Caleb's first year, and I don't see Caleb Williams winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He'll have a better second half than he does the first half probably, but all in all, this is an 8-9 team who puts themselves in a big hole early and slowly makes their way out of it, only to just miss out on having an above 500 record.
Now, Bears fans or Justin Fields stands may hear what Isaiah just said and may hear what I am about to say and think that we are Caleb Williams haters or that we think the Bears are a horrible team. We think their defense is awful. For me, that's at least not the case. Isaiah might be different.
They don't have a good defensive line. What do you want me to say? Do you want me to lie?
They have a good defense. They are a solid team all around, but a lot of what he said, they play the Titans in week 1. I think that's an easy win, but then they play the Texans, Rams, Lions. Those are 3 games with a rookie quarterback.
Texans, Colts, Rams.
Texans, Colts. My apologies. Texans, Colts, Rams. Those are 3 hard games with a lot of new pieces on their offense. They have to go to Indianapolis. They have to go to Houston. They get to play the Rams at home. But I think all those teams are better with a rookie quarterback, new pieces on offense. Those are hard games to win. The first half of this season is going to be rough for the Chicago Bears. I think a lot of what Isaiah said about Caleb Williams is true. There are going to be growing pains. I understand they added Keenan Allen. They added Odunze in the draft. I don't think DeAndre Swift is all that great, but I think it's going to take time for this offense to mesh. They are in the best division in football. I think a little bit lower of the Vikings than Isaiah does, but it's still a very hard division. The Vikings will get a win on them, and I also have the Bears going 8-9.
Oh man, I'm a little bit surprised by that. You're a big Caleb Williams guy. I thought you were going to come out blazing and say, oh, they're making the playoffs. They're the 7th seed.
They might make it to the playoffs if they can get that extra win, get that 9th win, and squeak in with a tiebreaker. 7 teams make the playoffs.
I don't think 9-8 gets you in the playoffs in the NFC next year. I certainly don't think multiple teams get in with a 9-8 record. I feel like there are going to be teams with better strength of schedules, per se.
Well, they play in the NFC North, so they're probably going to have a good strength of schedule.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. We'll have to wait and see. Going on up to the Vikings, though, who are the most intriguing team in many ways to me, in large part due to the quarterback position. It's going to be Sam Darnold initially. That's what reports are indicating. And at some point, maybe later in the season, maybe even next season, J.J. McCarthy will take over for him. The question is, can he lead a functional offense when he's got a pair of great tackles, when he's got arguably the best wide receiver in football, a phenomenal wide receiver to a great tight end, Aaron Jones? Can he lead that offense with Kevin O'Connell calling plays to an adequate to above average level? I certainly think he can do a better job than Joshua Dobbs and Nick Mullins did down the stretch for the Vikings, but that was not winning football they were playing. Ultimately, this is going to come down to how many close games they can win and how their defense performs. I think their defense got better, which is an insane thing to say given they lost to Neil Hunter. But they improved their secondary. They got Dallas Turner. They got Jonathan Grenard. They got Van Ginkel from the Dolphins. They have replaced Daniil Hunter and upgraded on their defensive line in the aggregate. I think this is going to be a better Vikings team than it was last year from a record standpoint. I think there are going to be some growing pains. I think Darnold is going to show his limitations at points, but I think the plethora of talent on that offense is enough to get them to 9 wins. Is that a great season? No, but certainly better than what we're expecting. Hopefully it does not get the Vikings fans drummed up and start some time about, oh, maybe you want to stick with Sam Darnold for a few years. We did that with Kirk Cousins. Having a mediocre quarterback is not a recipe for long-term success. But 9-8, I could see it going much worse, but 9-8 is the optimistic expectation.
People who are optimistic for the Vikings season, I get it. You have Justin Jefferson, you have TJ Hawkinson, who may not be there at the start of the season, you have Aaron Jones, you have a good offensive line. There's reasons to be optimistic for the Vikings season, that they won't be the worst team in the NFL, but I think people that are going to predict an above 500 record for this Vikings team don't appreciate how much Kirk Cousins did for that team, and they don't appreciate how bad Sam Darnold actually is. Sam Darnold is a 21-35 in record as a starter, a sub-60 career completion percentage, and when you take a look at their first, 9 games, 49ers, Texans, Packers, Jets, Lions, Rams, Colts, Jaguars, those are extremely difficult opponents. And week 1 against the Giants, you're going to MetLife, you're going to lose out.
You're going to get hurt. That's the worst thing that could happen. They're not losing that game. Get real.
They're losing that game.
They're winning that game by 20. Come on.
The Giants are winning that game by 4.
The Giants are going to lose so spectacularly. We will be stress testing ceiling fans in the Canada state. It's going to be rough.
They're not winning that game.
They're winning that.
They're losing a lot of those games I just named. And I think on the season, they're going to go 6-11. They're not going to be a great team. I don't think we see J.J. McCarthy this year. I think the best thing for him, he's 21 years old, by far the youngest quarterback in the NFL, is that he doesn't play this season. He comes back next year with Kevin O'Connell, and then I think he has a better chance of succeeding. But throwing him into the fire right now, especially against that murderer's row of their first 10 games, would not be a good idea. They're in a very tough division, and they're winning 6 games.
Quick question, Mr. Sites wins as a quarterback stat. There's some validity to that, but who are the 2 teams Sam Darnold wound up starting for, where he racked up that 21-35 record you're using to beat down on him? Who are those 2?
Well, I also mentioned he's a sub-career 60%
Who is he throwing to on those 2 teams? How are the offensive lines in front of them? This is not a comparable situation. I don't know what Sam Darnold is going to be in Minnesota. I know he's not going to be that. It is impossible for him, with a better play caller, with a different stratosphere of an offensive line and weapons in front of him, for him to be that guy. He may be mediocre. He may be slightly below average. Could be great. He's not going to be 60, or he's not going to be 21-35. He's not going to have a sub 60% completion percentage. You're off your gourd.
He'll have a 61% completion
Nothing
percentage.
wrong with the 61% completion percentage if you air the ball out. Speaking of airing the ball out, though, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are quite the team. The youngest team in the NFL last season had a little playoff magic happen, although magic often happens to teams playing the Dallas Cowboys for some reason. Now, they upgraded at running back in some people's opinions. They've moved some pieces around on their defense. Many people are calling them a dark horse Super Bowl team. I don't see it. I think the sophomore slump is a real thing for quarterbacks. I think having film greatly benefits NFL defenses more so than it benefits NFL offenses. I think Jordan Love is going to have a bit of a regression in his second season. That's not me saying he's going to put up worse numbers. I just don't think he's going to be as red hot as he was in the second half of 2023 for the entirety of 2024. I think it is unrealistic to expect him to do that. That being said, still a functional team from deep weapons, quality running game. Defense, that front 7 is not good. No one can convince me otherwise. That is a unit which is porous and will get run on and struggles to consistently generate a pass rush against quality offensive lines. I think that holds them back a little bit. And I think that winds up with them winning the exact same number of games as the Minnesota Vikings, going 9-8, barely missing out on the playoffs. I could see them squeaking in if a few other teams have worse seasons. If someone gets injured down the stretch, they get up to 10 wins, they'll make the playoffs in that situation. As we saw last year, if you get in, you can make a little bit of noise. But this is not some elite world beater dark horse Super Bowl team. This team isn't going to compete for the NFC North.
They are a true contender for the Super Bowl.
There are 3 teams in the NFC who have a shot of making the Super Bowl, and then there's everyone else. If you are going to put the Packers on the same level as the 49ers, Lions, and Eagles, you are delusional and setting them up for absolute failure. So go on, set them up for failure.
Well, I'm sure they're listening to what I have to say about their season. But the Packers absolutely are in that Super Bowl tier of team. To say they're not is to just be denying the inevitable. They're going to be very good. They're going to be right in the thick of things as the season progresses. And you say, oh, the quarterback sophomore slump. It's a real thing. But I don't think that can be applied to the Packers because we look at how last season progressed and just how young their offense is. All their receivers, I believe, are under the age of 24. All are very talented. For what you say about Christian Watson, you say, oh, he's not that...
I didn't say a word about Christian Watson.
For what people say about Christian Watson, oh, he's not all that great a receiver. Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, they're better. And while I probably agree with that, and while that may be true, he's at least healthy heading into this season, and having another talented player on the field is great for you. Both rookie tight ends who were very good last year and progressed as last year went on are healthy heading into this season. Jordan Love only got better as the season went on. He was very close to making it. He won a playoff game, made the Cowboys look stupid, and was very close to beating the 49ers. So all of that taking into consideration, their young pieces on defense are hopefully going to take the next step. They added Xavier McKinney to that secondary. The only games I see the Packers losing next year are their Eagles game in week 1. I think they'll lose some divisional games later in the season to the Bears, Lions, and Vikings, but I have them going 13-4 in 2024.
Oh, you think the 49ers are going to just get whooped by them? Is that the case? You're off your gourd.
I didn't say they're going to get whooped by them. They're going to beat them.
You're off your gourd on that one. To say this team's going to win 13 games is copium. I don't know why you're going. Maybe you're a diehard Xavier McKinney, former Giant type
Vikings
of guy.
fan,
By all means, go for it, man. 13-4. Goodness. I'll tell you who's going 13-4. That's the Detroit Lions. That's the actual team who's going to compete in this division. And for the best division in football, I think the Lions are the only team I've got coming out of it and making the playoffs. That's not really to take away from anyone else. Those other teams are still going to be above or close to 500. But the Lions are the best team in the NFC, barring maybe the Eagles and maybe the 49ers. Would like to see how they're doing. You look at their roster, you look at what they have done in free agency, you look at who they have signed, who they've got locked up for extensions. This is a great team. Maybe you think Jared Goff's not the guy. To that I'd say he got him a 21-point lead in the NFC Championship game. He's not that bad. The secondary is much improved. Their running backs getting older, more mature, better. Their offensive line, still great. Their receivers, great. Their defense, vastly upgraded. Their defensive line is going to be one of the scariest in the league with the combination of Hutch, Houston, and Reeder on that side of the ball. Their secondary got better. Their defensive coordinator looks like he's getting better as time goes on. This should be everyone's team, or one of everyone's teams to come out of the NFC. It's clearly the Lions and really no one else who's winning the North this year. It's not going to be close. They're sweeping the Packers, I'll tell you that much.
They're the most well-rounded team in the NFL. I agree, even with everything I said about the Packers, I do think the Packers are going to pick up a win against the Lions this year. But you take a look at what they did in the offseason. They added DJ Reader to that front seven. They added Terran Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw to that secondary. They addressed areas of need. Their offensive line is still going to be the best in the NFL next season. The only thing that can potentially hold this team back, and in the playoffs, if they lose a close game, maybe it's the reason, or maybe this is what stops them from being an all-time great offense, is the fact that they don't have a proven number 2 receiver to pair with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I like Jared Goff. I think he's very good, but he's not in that Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen tier, so maybe he has a dud here and there. But other than that, I have the Lions going 14-3. They don't have many flaws, if at all. I mean, maybe you cross your fingers it doesn't happen. Some of their rookies struggle, which is likely. I mean, that happens with rookies, but they're going to be very good.
Even if the rookies don't contribute, which is not what I was expecting them to really do, they've still upgraded their secondary drastically in free agency with moves they made to get guys away from teams like the Buccaneers and improve that side of the ball. I really am curious. You said the Packers are winning 13 games, the Lions are winning 14. What position are the Packers better at than the Lions? Out of curiosity, would you say there's any besides quarterback? And even the quarterback is marginal. I'd say quarterback,
and I'd say they have a much deeper receiver room.
Deeper
and more
doesn't
talented
mean
receiver
better.
room.
More talented doesn't really mean better. Amon-Ra was a top 5 receiver last year, and he's going to get more targets.
And I have them with a worse record than the Lions.
You got him winning one less game. I think a shallower receiving room and a slightly worse quarterback does not equate to the difference in those teams' rosters. I think you are glazing the Packers, to use a paraphrase of our times, to an exorbitant degree. I'm just circling back on that one more time before we hit the outro. And speaking of the outro, here it is. If you're still here, let us know what you think the NFC North is going to look like next year. Who's going to win more games? Who's going to have an embarrassing season and make us look like idiots? If you're still here, like, share, subscribe. Your support is tremendously appreciated, and we will see you in the next video.